Dr. Jackie Williams with Capavella, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade. And I'm joined today by
Zach Dodson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, certified clinical hypnotherapist, and trauma specialist.
All right, well, welcome. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about survival brain and learning brain.
Right.
And so these are two topics and terminology that I use when I am teaching with clients or students. And so there's two types of your brain. There's a survival brain and a learning brain. And just envision this little scenario. So think about a herd of elephants and a calf is born. And this is actually true. So when a calf is born, all of the adult elephants line up around the calf when the calf is born. And so envision that picture in your brain of all these adult elephants surrounding this baby calf that was just born.
Okay.
So when the adult elephants are there around the elephant, think about what the capacity is of this baby elephant. What is the calf capable of doing? Not much. But are they afraid of something that's lurking in the distance? Can they play?
Okay.
Can they learn? Can they let their guard down? Absolutely. So now think of that picture, and now think about that same calf, but with no adult elephants around. And so what happens is that calf has trained its brain because it has to survive. It has to be aware of what's around the corner. It has to be aware of potential dangers.
A lion.
It has to be afraid of a lion. It has to be afraid. It can't play. It can't roll around in mud to get cool. It can't just frolic around. It has to be on guard all the time. So when you think about learning brain and survival brain, the survival brain is the elephant that's sitting there by themselves. And the learning brain gets created because they have safety, because they can, because they have protection. So when I started learning about this and these two different sides, it's actually the way that your brain works. So there's two different parts of your brain.
Right.
There's a sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So I know this can get a little wordy, but bear with me, I got you. So what happens is we've all heard of this fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
So when we get triggered into flight, or freeze, it's because our brain perceives, and actually there's this little almond-shaped part of your brain that's like right back here. It's an almond shape, it's called your amygdala. So that amygdala part of your brain, I like to call like the watchdog and the ninja. So anytime that survival brain, which is really called your sympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
so once that gets triggered, once that amygdala goes and the watchdog goes, hey, threat, there's a lion, then that's what our bodies do to react. And we as humans do it, not just that little calf. So when we perceive a threat, what happens in your body? Your heart rate gets jacked, your blood pressure, you start to sweat. Your brain goes into survival brain.
Right.
And so all that rational ability to think and go, okay, that's not a lion. I'm not being chased by a lion. That is a butterfly. I can manage that, right? So in that point, when our sympathetic nervous system gets triggered, our body reacts. But what happens is we don't really acknowledge that it's happening. It's unconscious and it just happens, and all these things get jacked up.
And sometimes we even fight it.
We absolutely fight it and do my favorite phrase of, I'm fine. We hear that in our office all the time, right? I'm fine. And we can look at somebody physically and go, no, you're really not. So let's talk about it. But what's happening in that moment is the sympathetic nervous system is being jacked. There was actually this study, I don't think they're allowed to do it anymore, but they showed people videos, and intermittently there was a blue square in the videos that these people were watching. Do you know this study?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So every time that they saw subliminally the blue square, they would get shocked.
Right.
So
they're gonna get scared.
So I'm gonna kind of brace for impact of being shocked, right? So when I see a blue square, I'm gonna go, whoa, okay, it's coming. It's okay, I got shocked, I'm okay. But I perceive that as my threat. So I'm bracing. So my hands get sweaty, my heart rate goes up. I don't think clearly because I'm not watching the video anymore. I'm preparing for the lion. I'm preparing for the blue square. So then what they did later on in the study is they were really mean and they showed the video, but it was subliminal. It wasn't outright. So what they did is their body reacted, even though they didn't cognitively know, look, there's a blue square.
They had no idea.
They had no idea, but their brain knew because that amygdala lit up and their body went, ah! And they all went, well, I feel it, it's in my body, but I don't know why I'm reacting that way.
Right.
It's because the sympathetic nervous system was reacting. So here's where it's really cool. So we have two parts, two divisions of our nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Fight, flight, or freeze happens when our sympathetic nervous system gets activated.
Right.
We cannot, as people, sustain in that capacity. We cannot stay in survival brain. That is what leads to depletion.
And a trauma response.
And a trauma response, absolutely. So let's just take elite athletes, for example. A lot of athletes will say, I need my adrenaline. I get a really great adrenaline rush and I perform very well when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system.
Isn't that good?
It is. But I answer every question that anyone could ever ask me with two sweet little words. It depends.
Right.
Because we need that. We can't say, I want to get rid of all of my sympathetic nervous system, because that's not sustainable either. But elite athletes use that part. But the problem is, we as elite athletes don't know how to come back down and activate the parasympathetic part of the nervous system.
The safe one.
I'm sorry?
The safe one.
The safe one. Instead of safe, I want you to think about the recovery one.
Recovery, okay.
So when we have the recovery part, we actually burn more calories. We absorb nutrients from food better because our body's not fighting for a lion. It's not fighting. It's going, oh, okay, so now I can absorb because I can relax and I can recover quicker because I've now activated that parasympathetic nervous system.
So you're saying basically that a recovery is not just physiological, it's also psychological.
It's psychological, yes. And so many athletes come to me and say, okay, this is all great. Make it happen, what do I do?
Right.
And I say, this is the only thing that you need to do. And I say only because it is really something that it's incredibly doable for elite athletes, is we have to put skills in of mindfulness.
Right.
Once we have an awareness of, I now know my heart rate, I feel my blood pressure, I feel my sweaty hands, I feel these, okay, my body's reacting. Once we feel that, we have to acknowledge and not do the I'm fine. So then we can understand and we can build a toolbox, so to speak, with TMAP, because there's team tools in there to help retrain your brain to recovery.
And that's kind of where the PPP scale, the
Absolutely.
3P scale comes into play,
Yes.
because it's going to measure that.
It measures, so the PPP scale will measure where you are. It'll help measure to see where you are and how you react to things. Do I react to whatever it is that's in the outskirts? Is that a threat or is that a challenge? If I react everything to a threat, then I'm always going to be activating my sympathetic nervous system. If I have the mindfulness to say, okay, that is a challenge, not a threat, and I am absolutely capable at managing a challenge.
Right.
And I stay within my parasympathetic nervous system consciously, because the nervous system is an unconscious part of our body. It goes from our brain to our gut. So you know the saying of trust your gut? Well, it's like literally it's a reason, because there's a vagal nerve goes to your gut.
Right.
So when we trust our gut and we retrain our brain, it's kind of like an injury. You're an athlete, so when you get an injury, you have to recover. You have to retrain it. You have to be able to go and take steps, baby steps, which is exactly what the team tools are going to train your brain to do, so that you can then differentiate and go, okay, I know I need to activate this part of my brain for this activity, for this sport, for this meeting in the boardroom, for this when I walk on the court, when I walk into this classroom, when I walk into whatever, I know I need this, but I also know, and I have the conscious decision to say, I also need this, because if we don't stimulate the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, that leads to depletion
And atrophy.
and atrophy, not strength. When we are in when we're in only the sympathetic, it leads to depletion and not strength. When we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we recover, we absorb everything. So it makes elite athletes perform better because that part of their brain can now think rationally versus, oh my gosh, and I can't run this race. My heart rate's I'm too tired. I'm not gonna make it. I'm only 15 miles in and I'm running a marathon. And then we can use those tools to say, wait, yes, I can lower my heart rate. Yes, I can do this.
Or if you're in the boardroom and you're getting ready to give a presentation.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna be so nervous about your boss listening to you, and so nervous about what it's gonna mean for your career, and so nervous about what it's gonna mean for your paycheck and all of that other stuff.
Absolutely. We activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and you will notice the difference in your body because you're able to recover, train, and build muscle. That's when you recover.
So it's kind of like training an elite athlete to not only get their body in shape, but their mind in shape.
We spend a lot of time training our bodies.
Right.
A lot of time. Elite athletes, or the non-athlete, or just someone in the middle. We train a lot on our body, and we forget about that sweet parasympathetic nervous system that goes to the psychological part of our brain to make us faster, to make us more efficient, to make everyday challenges just that. It's a challenge, not a threat. That baby elephant can live in learning brain when we activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
Great.